Well, it's been a few weeks since I set up my freshwater aquarium, and after initial aquascape, um, of course, I made some changes, and I thought maybe after a couple weeks, let you see what it looks like and some of the changes there are. I had planted anubis and cryptocorn, and what else? I got some java moss, vallisneria, and also a little bit of water sprite. Now it's just been 2 weeks and maybe 3. I'm not even sure. I got to go back and check. But the plants they hadn't died off. Some of them melted off a little bit, but they're still alive. Not seeing much growth. I have a low light system right now. I'm doing all those beginner mistakes in the sense where you learn a lot and you study a lot, you do a research and you research some more, and the more that you research, the more anxious you get about, let's get going, I want to get going. And so there's a time where you got to stop researching and just do it, and there's nothing like learning through experience anyway, but the more research you do, the less costly that will become. But however, one of the things I'm learning is that, don't skip on the lights. Just like with the saltwater side, don't skip on the lights. You end up having to upgrade or whatever later on. It ends up costing more, and I'm already selected a new set of lights for this tank, although I don't know yet if it's necessary, because I have all low light plants. But this some of the things you learn as you go. Vallisneria, I understand, is a rooted plant where it receives most of its nutrient through its roots and not through its leaves. Where anubias, it will get its nutrients, and when you fertilize, you want to fertilize the water column for anubias and many of the other easy plants that I have. But for and I believe that's the case for water sprite as well, Vallisneria, I put some root tabs in for it because it's going to be feeding off of its roots more so than through the leaves. And so I got some root tabs that I put in. I put in 10 of them, and we'll see how that goes. I may have to do that about once a month. I did get the Carib Sea Eco Complete, which starts you off with some of the nutrients already in the gravel mix. And I really bought this gravel because that was the kind of color gravel I wanted. I bought it more for aesthetic reasons, for decor, than I did for the Eco Complete side of it. But you also live and learn on that too, because I wanted some corridors and some other types of catfish that have the barbs. And apparently you need any of those catfish that are bottom dwellers that have the barbs. They need soft, rounded gravel and not sharp-edged type gravel. And looking at Eco Complete, take a close look here as you're looking at the video. And to me, these are pretty sharp. And I don't really want to get corridors now or any other bottom dwellers that would be cut up or bruised from scavenging along the bottom. And I did see a video of somebody had corridors in sand, and boy, they were getting their bodies halfway down or deeper into it, and it looked like they were having a blast doing it. But what I did though is did some research and looked at all types of different algae eaters, and the Siamese, the Chinese, the fox, and a bunch of others, and end up getting I think it's called the dwarf suckerfish, Otocynellus. And the Otocynellus are peaceful, small catfish, and I got 5 of them swimming around the tank. And they've been a pleasure so far, and they really do a job on cleaning up the anubis leaves. And so they were my Anubis. They have a big broad leaf, and they were just collecting a lot of the silt and even, I don't know, eventually what happens, algal growth gets on them, and these little dwarf suckerfish, they got on these leaves and do a beautiful job cleaning them off. And something I didn't know about, but I learned. And I've had freshwater fish in the past, but that was in the days. That was over 20 years ago, and so much is known today that we didn't know back then. And even if we did know it, you had to learn everything by going to the library or getting books or buying books and reading them from cover to cover. We couldn't binge. Like, I've been binging on YouTube for the last several weeks just on freshwater stuff, and it's amazing within hours how much you can learn. Good information, truthful information, and misinformation. That's the beauty of it all. You have to binge enough to sift out the misinformation with the good. But I'm loving the autocinelus. Also, I think from a previous post, you knew I had the Serpe tetchers. They were also purchased and based on my likes and feelings rather than pure knowledge. Because now I think if I was to do it again, and knew a little bit more and researched a little bit better, I would not get the Serpe tetchers. No, they're fine. I mean, they're beautiful fish. They're actually what I wanted as far as looks go, but they're a little bit on the nippy side. And I think the longer you have them, the more they calm down. We'll see. But that was another reason I didn't want to get the corridors, because sometimes some of those, it depends on the community. Sometimes those Serpe tetchers can go after the barbels on the corridors or just go after them and mess with their fins. So, if I was to do it again, I would get either the flame tetcher or the amber tetcher. Similar looks to the Serpe, probably not as, it doesn't have the black and the white and all the difference in colors, but it's probably just as beautiful in its own right. I like the look of the amber, and I like the look of the flame, and and the Serpe is even more reddish and dark, and so. But this is what I have, and they actually, you see all the fish in the tank are scattered about, but they do school when something's going on, or I'm messing around. They'll school up and tighten up, and Serpes actually tighten up pretty good in school and kind of stream along together quite often, even more so than the glo-light tetchers. Now you see I got some glo-lights in here. Now if you don't know, glo-light tetchers, this is the natural look of this particular species. I don't know if these are wild caught or tank bred. I really don't know, but when I first saw them in the fish store, I didn't know anything about them, and I thought, boy, they caught my eye, and I kind of liked them. But instead of purchasing them on that moment, I went back and I did do some research on them. The glo-lights are fairly hardy relative to all the different species. I think more so than the neon is, but maybe not as much as the black, or very similar to the black tetcher as far as being able to withstand water differentials and parameters. But I really love the glo-lights, and I thought they would school tighter. I got about a dozen of them in here, and I got about 10 Serpe tetras, and then the 5 autocinelus, and 5 catfish. So that's what I have so far. I'm not done yet. I still want to get some more fish. Originally, I wanted to get a dwarf gourami and a couple showfish, of larger size. And that's out now. I can't do that. Just like I can't get the corridors, I can't get the gourami because they have the modified fins that look like, that are kind of like feelers. And from what I'm told, they'll get nipped And same thing with angelfish. Their fins and their long fins will get nipped by the serpent tetchers. So those showfish are kind of out of the game now. And so that's one of the things I learned. But I do like my serpents. They're a beautiful fish. They're hardy. They do well. They're good fish for a beginner like myself. Now I did say in the times past I had freshwater fish before. And so if you take a look here, we're going to zip back 20 years. So let's roll back 20 years, and you can see my fish tank from 20 years ago was a 55-gallon freshwater tank. I had a friend that had a golden severum, and I loved it. I had to have one, and so eventually I got a baby, and I grew this one out. You see in this tank to good size, and what a wonderful fish! And I wanted that fish, and I had some other cichlids, and I had another friend that had bred angelfish, and I went over to his house and he gave me some of his babies. And so this golden severum, these few angelfish, all of those I got as babies and grew up and had in this 55-gallon tank. But as much as I loved the fish, I also had a green severum that I grew out from a baby. It was a beautiful green, really stunning looking, but he got up and got nasty, and I had to get rid of him. And then eventually, I really actually never did like my 55-gallon. As much as I like the fish, I did not like the aquascape, because you see there's plastic plants, not live plants. And my understanding at the time was I couldn't keep live plants in a tank with cichlids. And I believe I had some other cichlids in this tank too, but the green severum took them out. I don't remember what was happening. It was too long ago. But my current understanding then was you couldn't have live plants. Now, as I'm doing research on YouTube and binge watching, I'm finding out that there are some cichlids that don't mind plants, including the angelfish, of course, go okay with plants. But, you have to match the fish in certain plants, not all plants, but certain plants go okay in cichlid tanks. So, a little knowledge that we have today that we didn't have then, or I didn't know about. I could have had a much nicer tank. But my dream always was to have a freshwater tank that was planted and green. And just, to me, they've always been gorgeous. But what I did was I decided to get out of the freshwater and get into saltwater. I had saltwater actually I had this 55, I had a 30-gallon saltwater. It busted at the seams, lost all its water. And so all my saltwater tanks, I had 20-gallon, 10-gallon, 30-gallon. I had all different sizes of saltwater tanks. None of them on video, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. And then what I got now, I'm very pleased with. I'm learning so much. Eco Complete, I'm having different thoughts about, because I liked it. I liked the color of the gravel. That's why I got it. But I liked that it kind of kick-started my aquarium and gave me a leg up on the plants. You still have to do the root tabs, because eventually any of the fertilizer that they put in Eco Complete is going to be used up, and you have to continually fertilize your tank. So that's something I didn't realize either. Now I'm new to the hobby. It's just like anything. You have to continually feed. You just can't feed once and forget it. You have to continually feed. And so it's okay to dirt your tank, with either potting soil or peat moss and cap it off, or get a thing like Eco Complete, or get the other brands. But even still, eventually those nutrients are going to be used up, and you're going to still have to feed. So any gravel is fine. Just make sure you feed your plants, fertilize the water column, fertilize the substrate for the rooted plants, and know which plant receives it through the leaves more than the roots, and vice versa. I wanted you to see my overall scape now after a couple weeks. The plants are there. I'm probably going to get some more, but I want to wait till these start to grow in. Obviously, when you initially plant an aquascape, it's the growing period. You gotta have an imagination to see in your mind what this is going to look like months down the road as the things grow in, and you gotta aquascape for 3, 4, 6 months, a year later, and have in your mind, you're aquascaping what it's going to look like as the plants grow, not what it's going to look like right after you seeded it, right after you planted, because this is what it looks like now, and it's nowhere near the kind of greenery I expect for my fish to be able to look their best in, to be most comfortable in, to display as best in. And so it takes a good imagination to do any kind of art, and I consider aquascape and aquarium an art, and as an expression. So each of us, when we set up an aquascape or aquariums, are expressing something of ourselves and our imagination. And that's really part of the joy of it, and one of the reasons why I post on YouTube. But yeah, I do expect to get a few more species in here. I just don't know what to do as far. Anybody have some recommendations of some show fish that I can put in that are a little bit larger that would be okay with the Serpate tetra? Obviously, I've already excluded gouramis and angelfish, but I'm looking at probably some more tetras, another school, and I don't know. I'm still researching and learning some more, and interested in hearing anybody's thoughts and what combinations that they think of. And there's a thing though, when you do this, as much as I'm liking what I've done and looking forward to it, I already have in my head other ideas, other aquascapes that I would love to do, and that's the multiple tank obsession. And it's something I can't do because of not being home enough. I really can't have any more tanks, but boy, I want to. It's hard not to. You just, oh, I love to have this type of fish, these species, these plants, this type of, aquascape, and this biotope, this ecosystem. And so all those things come to your mind, and you want to set up more tanks. Oh, and another thing I wanted to discuss was I put all these fish in. I first set the Serpate tetras, and then some days later I got the glo-lights, and then a week or so later I got the autocilius, and now all the fish are in. None of them were quarantined. None of them had any quarantine or treatment or anything like that. They all look fine, but I'm in the process this week of medicating the whole tank with API General Cure, and possibly I may do some ick treatment as well. ICX, I think it's called, whatever. And I'm doing the whole tank, and then after that, from now on, any new fish, I think I'll begin the quarantine. But with the freshwater, with plants and everything, is okay to put certain medications in. So General Cure is okay with plants. Anyway, that's where I am right now on the freshwater tank, and it was good having you again, and a pleasure for me talking with you, and we'll catch you next time.